Welcome back, guys. In the last two lectures, we have discussed about the states and state management in class component. In this video, we are going to discuss about props. So props are used for the communication between the parent component and child component. So to learn props, we have to create two components. So the first one is parent component and the second one is child component. So first I will create the parent component in the source folder. So here I am creating a new file with the name parent.js. This is the parent component. I will create one more component with the name child.js. First I will write the class component in parent. First we need to write the import statement, import react comma component from React. Afterwards we have to write the class name. Class, here the class name is parent, and we need to extend this parent by react.component. React.component. Afterwards we have to use the render method. In that we have to return the HTML content. Return. So I want to return the h1 in div. So I will change the snippet from JavaScript to React. So here I will return the div. In this I will return one h1 with the name. This is parent component. Now I will export this parent component to place it in app.js. Export default parent. That's it. Now we need to import this parent in app.js component. Here I will write the import parent from, in the single colons we have to write the file path of the parent. That's it. Now we need to add this parent in the app.js. Parent. That's it. I will remove the last lecture CC component, means I will remove the states lecture. Now we will see the output. Here you can see this is states lecture. I will change the heading from states lecture to props lecture in the app. Props. Now you can see the output. This is props lecture. This text is from app.js component, and this is parent component. This text is from parent.js component. Now we need to create a child component. Afterwards we will see how to pass the data from parent component to child component. First we will create the child component. So I will copy the code in from the parent component. I will replace the parent with child. So I will copy this code and I will paste it in the child component. So here I will change the parent to child. Child. Here also I will change from parent to child. Here we need to export the child component. That's it. We have created the child component and we have exported it the child component. Now we need to use this component in the parent component. So first we need to write the import statement in parent component. Import child, from, in the single colons you have to write the file path of the child component. This is the child component. Now we need to use this child component in parent component. So to use any child component in parent component, we have to use the less than symbol followed by the component name. Here the component name is child, afterwards slash, and after the slash we have to use the greater than symbol. Now let's see the output, whether the child component is added successfully or not. Here you can see we got both parent component and child component. Now our goal is to pass the data from this parent component to child component. Whatever the data it may be a variable or string or anything. So we need to create a variable in the parent component and we need to pass that variable to the child component. Now let's see how to pass it. First we need to create a variable in parent component. First we have to write the variable in the child. Means here we are writing the child. Now we need to add the data in this child component. Like I will add the language. So here the language is the key, and I will add the value as JavaScript. Here we are sending the data. Here the language is key and the JavaScript is the value. Now we need to receive this value in the child component. We have added the value language, key and the value JavaScript in the parent component while calling the child. Now we need to receive this language in the child component. Now let's see how to receive this language. So first we need to accept the constructor in the child component. So first we need to create the constructor. So the constructor should accept the props as parameter. Props. So afterwards we have to use the super method in the constructor. Super and props. Now we need to get this language value. Here it is. This language value in the child component. I want to print this language value in child component in the h1 text. So here I will create the h1 text. So in the h1 I will write the received language from parent component is. Here we should receive the value using the props. So I will write this dot props dot. After that we have to write the key. In the parent component we have given the key as language. So we need to write the key as language in the child component. After this dot props dot we have to write the key. The key is language. That's it. Our program is completed. Now let's see the output. Here you can see the output. The received language from the parent component is JavaScript. If you observe the child component, there is no variable with the name JavaScript or language in the child component. Here you can see we have not created the state in the child component, but we have received the language using the props. Here you can see we have added only props in the constructor. With the help of props, we have received the key language using the props from the parent component. So once again I will explain. First we have created a parent component, and in that parent component we have added the child component. So to this child component we are passing some data to the child component from parent component. Here now we are in the parent component, we are passing the language as key and the JavaScript as value to the child component. So to pass any data to the child component, we have to write the key value pairs after the child component name. Here you can see this is the child component name. After the child component name we have to write the key value pairs. Language is the key and the JavaScript is the value. Not only one value, we can pass many values. Suppose if you want to add one more value, you can use the space, and I will use the framework as another data framework. So we need to use the equal to. In that we have to write the value. Here the framework is the key, and I will write the value as React. Now we need to receive this framework value in the child component. So the procedure is same. We need to write the h1 text, the received framework from the parent component is. So whenever you want to receive any data from the other component, we have to use the props. So this is the use of props. Props is used to communication between the parent component and child component. Now we need to get the framework using the props. So here we have to use the this dot props dot framework. Here we are using framework because we have sent the data from the parent component using the framework as key and React as value. If you use the framework as key in child component, it will give the React as value. Now I am pressing Ctrl S. Now let's see the output. Here you can see the received framework from the parent component is React. So like this way we can pass the parameters from parent component to child component. We can also pass the parameter from app.js to the parent component. because for this child.js, the parent component is parent.js. For this parent.js, the child parent component is app.js. So we can pass the parameters from app.js to the parent.js. Now we will see how to pass it. So in the app.js component, while adding the parent, we have to add the data. So here I will add the data as movie. So I will add the data as movie as key, and I will add the value as Avengers. So here the movie is the key and the value is Avengers. Now we need to receive this movie in parent.js. So I'm pressing Ctrl S. Now let's move into the parent component. Now in this we have to return the movie value. So here also we need to write the constructor to accept the props. So first we need to write the constructor. So without writing constructor and props, we cannot receive the data from other components in class component. Props. In the constructor we have to write the super keyword. In this super also we have to write the props. Now we have written the constructor. Now we need to get the value of the movie from app.js component. So I will write the h1 text. The received movie from app.js component is, here we have to write the value in curly braces, this dot props dot, after the props we have to write the key is movie. Now we will see the output in Google Chrome. Here you can see the received movie from app.js component is Avengers. If you observe the parent component, we have not created any state and we have not created any variables with the name movie. We are getting this value by using the props in app.js component. So from app.js component, we are sending the data with the key movie and the value Avengers to the parent component. And from parent component, we are sending the values, language and the framework to the child component. So here the communication is happening between the app.js component to parent component and parent component to child component. So like this way, by the help of props, we can use the communication between parent component and child component. Thank you. See you in the next class.